This has been a huge week, obviously, for Ukraine, a European tour that you've been a part of. You've accompanied the president of Ukraine. He's been in London, Paris, and Brussels. And today he said something that really caught my eye. He said, I can't go back home empty-handed. We have to survive. And that means weapons and a lot more. When you go back home now, what do you take with you? What are the specifics from this meeting that you say mission accomplished?
Well, first of all, let's remember that this week started actually in Kyiv a week ago, when 2 days we had a European days in Kyiv. President von der Leyen coming with a college, President Michel, and then it prolonged this week with several capitals, including yesterday in Brussels for the European Council. And yes, my president was always telling, I have to come with results. The first result being the weapons. Now we need the weapons badly. We need ammunition, we need long-range artillery, we need battle tanks, we need armored vehicles, we need fighter jets. Everything was discussed today. Certainly the European Council itself is an institution, not the institution that gives the weaponry. But my president had a chance to raise it at the general debate and then to have a bilateral meetings with each and every leader of the member state to discuss particularly the things we need from each and every country. Someone gives us to us already, someone is still thinking, but the dynamics should be more and more, quicker and quicker, because we badly need the weaponry now. So this is result number one.
And just so our audience understands, because they hear the fighter jets, and they mean, what are the fighter jets? Is it the training? Is it the actual jets? They hear the long-range missiles. What does it mean in terms of kilometers? What are you trying to do this? There has been concerns that perhaps what we're trying to do is to hit Russia. And that concerns people. So this missiles, this long range, what type of actual weapons are you debating? Do you need?
No, we never even were thinking or meaning to hit Russia.
You never thought to strike Russia?
To hit any inch of Russian territory. But long-range missiles were needed in order to deoccupy Ukrainian territory.
So in your territory,
yes,
they would be
absolutely.
used.
There are Ukraine is huge, So
we
need a long-range missiles to start the counteroffensive, because when you start counteroffensive, you usually start with an artillery fire, a counterfire. You have the artillery, you have plenty of ammunition, because now we're having like almost zero ammunition, and that's why the challenge from Russia are coming more intense and more dangerous. So that's why we need artillery and ammunition to eat. We need battle tanks and armored vehicles in order to start, after the artillery fight, to start the counteroffensive by manpower. And yes, we need the fighter jets on several reasons. First of all, the fighter jets to fight. And secondly, the fighter jets are also very good in intercepting the ballistic missiles, which are coming in more and more intense quantity over the sky of Ukraine. We need air defense system, medium range, in order to intercept these ballistic missiles. But they also need the fighter jets for several purposes. And yes, we need to start from training, because obviously the pilots would need to be trained. But our pilots are quite wise, quite experienced. They will not need several years or even 1 year. They will do it much quicker, because they already have gained quite good experience at the battlefield, and they will do it quicker.
So if you say, let's get trained in 2 weeks, they'll be ready to fly these planes when? In the spring?
Possibly, yes. I'm not an expert in these, exact things, but yes, as quick as possible.
And there's one thing that you said that's very important with this long-range missiles, which is what, 300 kilometers? Is that essentially
something like this?
What you say is, if the concern is that Ukraine is going to attack Russia, that's not what's going to happen. What we want is to liberate what is Ukrainian territory.
Absolutely.
I think that's very important to stress, because some fear the issue with the long-range missiles is that this could turn into a much bigger war if Russia perceives this as a threat. So will you say that's not what you're trying to do?
Absolutely not. But second, I would like to tell you, it's high time to forget about fear over how Russia would react or how Russia would be provoked.
Think it's a bad idea?
Well, many thought not to provoke Russia long before in 2014, when they started aggression against Ukraine. What happened? The aggression started. Then many thought of not provoking Russia before 2022. The open aggression started. We asked for preventive sanctions. We asked for defensive weapon. It was not given to Ukraine. Now it is given to Ukraine. But it's too late, too little, and too slow.
And the ammunition, you also mentioned that. And of course, just so an audience understands, in a war, you burn through ammunition pretty much every day. What is the situation that you really encounter these days? Is it something that you say it is reaching to a point where we may have soldiers, but they don't have what they need to keep fighting. That's going to be a problem.
It's not that critical as you describe, but yes, we have enough manpower, trained, experienced, brave and courageous and motivated, because Russian soldiers are not motivated. Most of them do not understand what they fight for. While our soldiers clearly understand that we want to liberate Ukrainian territory. But yes, in order to liberate it, in order to be well effective on the battlefield, you need equipment, you need military equipment. And we are very good at mastering this high-level, sophisticated Western equipment. So yes, we are running out of the ammunition very quickly because the fights are intensive. And Russians are bigger in size. They are bigger in quantity of the equipment, but they are not that good in quality of fighting.
So you say Ukraine is better in the fighting. And I want to ask you a question. If you put all of this week together, combined, and President Zelensky is still doing meetings, you are still doing meetings, just how much closer you think you are on, maybe not the fighter jets, but yes to the long-range missiles and the ammunition? Has this bridge perhaps a difference?
It's very important that those meetings today in Brussels, yesterday in Paris and in London, were just ahead of another Ramstein meeting. The Ramstein format is the meeting format where these decisions are taken. So we're counting on the next week, the 14th of February, for the Ramstein meeting. I will stop on this. But very important that we discuss not only weaponry. Another topic for discussion was the peace formula of President Zelensky. We discussed intensively.
And Russia says that plan, with all due respect, is a joke, that they can't. What do you respond to that?
Russia wants just peace, but just peace for Russia is immediate ceasefire and the freezing of the conflict, control of the captured Ukrainian territories and immediate ceasefire. This is not the case with Ukraine and with the civilized world. For us, peace means certainly liberating our territory, but what is also important, to deprive Russia of aggressive instruments in other areas rather than on the battlefield. For instance, in the food security, when they're blocking Ukrainian ports, it's also aggressive instruments because they are depriving of the food the poorest countries in Africa and in Asia. When they endanger the biggest nuclear power plant in Europe, Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, just controlling, occupying it by armed forces. This is the danger for the whole Europe. When they fire at our critical energy infrastructure, it's also danger for you all because we're one and the same system of electricity. So that's why we need to deprive Russia of all possible aggressive instruments and then think about peace.